I know it.
You know, I really hate it when Twitter is right. What's up, gang? Hope y'all enjoy the holidays, cause it's about to be hell for the next couple weeks. Cause after 8 years in the kitchen and after 4 being actually cooked, Hazbin, Mother Ducking Hotel is finally here. Yeah, that's right, the internet sensation is finally out if you paid for it, which I did. Allegedly. No, I actually did. But after all this time and enough controversy to make a Star Wars fan blush, the answer to the question fans and haters alike have been begging to know is finally here. Is it good? Well, after watching the first 2 episodes, I can safely say that it is 100% uncut, non-stop, unambiguous, mostly okay. Look, this isn't the sexy answer that you wanted, but I don't know what else to tell you. From the first one, I see the potential, but execution is everything, and it is off to a rocky start. Then episode 2 happens and suddenly we're Gucci. So let's just break down the good, the bad, and the mid. And don't worry, the first few minutes will be spoiler free so that everyone who didn't pirate it can just get a general vibe. Alright, let's get into it. But actually, before we get into it, I do think we need to take a moment to congratulate Spindlehorse and Vivian Medrano on just getting this show made. Even today, I can't really think of a show that really has been able to do what Hazbin did. To go from YouTube sensation to being greenlit by a major studio, funded and produced for TV. This is the dream for so many artists, writers, and creators. It's an achievement that requires just an insane amount of dedication, passion, and work. To make any show is a Herculean task. But then you double that shit by the fact that Spindlehorse was also working on Hell of a Boss at the same time. Like, it is bonkers, it's crazy, and throwing a toxic hateum and the vitriol just thrown all around this show. I do think we do need to appreciate that this show exists and celebrate Vivian Medrano herself. She achieved the dream, and nobody's opinions or comments should ever ruin that feeling of triumph that comes with this show's release. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say congratulations, Vivian, you're a superstar. Hope nothing for the best for you and your amazing crew. Sorry about the Millie video. So here's my general experience with the first 2 episodes. The premiere, it's alright, but it has more cracks than the Titanic. Broad strokes, it works, being mostly inoffensive in setting up the board for future events. And that's kind of okay. While we love to deep throw the shows that were bangers from minute 1, Breaking Bad, Arcane, Castlevania, but having a roughish start isn't a death sentence. Kinda like meeting anyone new. Sometimes you just have to suffer through the early cringe so that everyone can get comfortable and then everyone can be their actual selves. Episode 1 is scrambling to do a lot of different things. To reintroduce all these characters, set up all the new problems Charlie has to face with her plan to redeem sinners to avoid genocide. We discover why she feels this way. We get world building about her family and why hell exists. Get hints of how the main cast is going to bounce off each other, the fact that this is a musical, daddy issues, multiple probably connected mysteries, and all the while the premiere has to find room to make us care about any of it. There is a lot going on, and it's struggling. As to be blunt, the premiere feels more like episode 2 to the pilot than an actual introduction. With one of the big mistakes this causes being the fact that we don't actually see the aftermath or the extermination whatsoever. So we don't really have a frame of reference or even a reason to emotionally connect to that event. We don't see the horror, we don't see, oh no, those poor demons. Instead, we just kind of get hell is shitty, and it's shitty without even the angels doing anything. So Charlie's appeal to stop the extermination is kind of undercut as we have no frame of reference based on just what we see in the show. So it is kind of coasting just a little bit on how most people who are watching this will already be familiar with these characters. So what they get for character intros isn't much. It's kind of just a general vibe, nothing meaty. It just more gives you an idea of what the character's bit is, not really who they are and fully how they fit into the rest of the cast. There's a lot of characters to introduce and not a lot of time to really do it. It's rough, but it is forgivable, as I feel like the series could go on to like, okay, let's really establish who these characters are as it goes along. Well, this right here is just like, okay, we gotta get all this other shit done. But what really makes all this kind of stick out to me all the more is the fact that the jokes are not landing for me. Like, it took me to the 5-minute mark to actually chuckle, with most everything after that being just kind of a shrug. With the biggest issues here just being that the premiere does that stupid modern joke thing, where just will hold on an unfunny joke for way too long, where the idea is the fact that they're holding on it for so long is the joke. I count at least 4 different times in 20 minutes that they do this exact joke, and it never lands either time. But even when it's done intentionally for characters that are meant to be annoying, it's still not entertaining. But the fact that they do this with characters we're supposed to like gives away the fact that this is just kind of a bad habit that the Spindle crew needs to lose. As this episode's comedy gives me big, unhappy campers PTSD, as it confuses cringe with funny, and I just want it to move the fuck on. The premiere, though, is saved by the music. The songs were just so good. Right now, the music is the saving grace of the series. As when the song starts, suddenly everyone is elevated. Characters that were just annoying before are suddenly a hoot. Everything about the show just clicks together, as with just a song, you immediately understand who these characters are and why they're doing the things that they do. Though I do have some opinions on the direction for Happy Day in Hell, but we'll get to that. On the whole, the more I think about the premiere, the more flaws I notice. But like the awkward first meetings, give it time, then the show finally starts to take off, like it does in the second episode. I'll be honest, it's not amazing, but it is really fun. Overtures has been just doing all the shit that it feels like it has to do, while Radio Killed the Video Star has been doing what it actually wants to do. The jokes actually start landing, and we get small character moments to understand just who these yahoos are and what their damage is. Charlie is putting her money where her mouth is, and V-Villains steal the goddamn show. If you watch episode 1 and don't vibe with it, you have to see episode 2, and then you have a way better idea of who you're ghosting. While it isn't spectacular, the show finally feels like it's all coming together, and since this is only the second episode, I feel like it has plenty of time to be great. The intrigue around Alistair and his beef with Vox is just so good. The V's themselves are all scene steals, with Vox and Alistair's duet being just my favorite song so far, as it's a villain duet with the two of them trying to just one-up each other. And because this bears mentioning, we have to give a shout out to all the voice actors. They are all phenomenal singers. And just like their regular speaking voice, I don't think anyone's an objective improvement over what we saw in the pilot, and it does feel kinda weird to watch Blake Roman do his best impression of Michael Kovac as Angel Dust. He's good at it. A little creepily so. But that aside, there's not a bad pick here. Keith David can do no wrong. Christian Borle as Vox just might be my favorite right now, and I'm adoring all the little voice modulations they do to each character like Vox and Alistair. It just adds so much fun to their performance, and it never gets old. Back to my other praises, the second episode is where it all starts to come together, and I start to see the vision, where in spite of the massive ticking clock, the real heart and soul of the series is on full display, as it is in the characters and the music. And it's here that they all prove that they just might be able to redeem a sinner, that by giving people a chance, it gives them the opportunity to choose to be better. And that is great. It is what this show is built around, and I'm so happy that within all this crazy, we're able to have this sweet moment. It's not an emotional knockout, but it sells the idea the series is built around and shows that Charlie's dream isn't as doomed as it seems, and that even if they can't go to heaven, they could at the very least improve themselves. While it was a little rough early on, I think these 2 episodes prove that Hazbin Hotel is gonna be a fun ride. Now, the only question left is how rickety that roller coaster is gonna be, cause wow, there are some mistakes I feel like they should have been easily caught. Yeah, this is gonna be the bitching section of the video, but for all the flack Hazbin Hotel caught for that trailer where Vaggie disappeared and the camera was whipping around so fast it made it look like Charlie was running from a crocodile, but for all of that, I defended it. I played that shit off saying it's just a rough trailer that couldn't possibly be what the actual show, well, yeah, that is how it looks. All those mistakes are there. And the camera work is just as overly aggressive in the trailer as it is here. The silver lining here is that out of these 2 episodes, all these issues are at their most egregious and mostly only really noticeable in the Happy Day in Hell scene. On the whole, I like this musical number. Once you notice the tricks that the show is trying to pull to make it look more grand and dynamic than it actually is, you can't unsee it. It's especially noticeable to me, as this is some shit that I would do to punch up a video. So to spare yourself, to avoid me pulling the mask off the reason this song feels so off, this is your chance to get off. Everything after this is gonna be spoilers. I'm cautiously optimistic and gonna play the shit out of this soundtrack. Okay, you gone? Let's talk the issues.
Mister?
Go fuck yourself!
So the problem that took me out the second I finally put my finger on it is the camera work. It's all over the place, literally. But this isn't anything new. Shows have been doing zoom in, following along with the characters just to add a little extra oomph. They've been doing that since they figured out they could do it. My issue here is that it is excessive and it feels sloppy. Like, it doesn't feel like something that was planned for the video but was added in post because they realized like, no, we need to make this bigger, we need to make this grand. Instead, it just feels distracting. There are so many shots where we'll be following along with Charlie and she goes up and the camera follows. But this will give the camera just this sense of like being too flight, like it's just floating around. And worst of all, it often doesn't match her tempo, being fast going right alongside her, only to slowly drag down when she is zipping. It feels like it was being used to add an extra sense of motion or to make what would otherwise be a flat shot just have a little bit more going on. When really, I don't think it needs that. It's distracting. It's the definition of doing too much. And one thing that makes this all the more obvious and feel all the more out of place is that this camera's following just feels a little bit unplanned. Like, okay, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. It doesn't ever feel like, okay, there is a full intent and purpose behind it. And I feel like I could almost see this in Premiere where they're following along, zooming in, pulling out, as it just has this weird flowy nature to it that just doesn't ever feel right for what they're doing. And that feels all the more noticeable, all just like a little bit sloppy when you compare it to the character animation. As every syllable Charlie says is being animated, is being emphasized. There is as much movement as possible here, with us even getting 360-degree shots. There is so much work being put into that aspect of the scene. It makes it feel like everything else was skimped on, with the best worst example of this being this shot, where after panning away from Charlie, we get the world's fastest zoom back as it smash cuts to a different shot. Like this shit, it sent me, as it easily could have just cut here. You don't have to drag the camera like your life depends on it, and what makes it feels like a mistake is the speed. That it rips that hard stops, where we just pause here as it has arrived at its destination with it needing a beat before it actually cuts to the next shot. Like this feels like a mistake. This is something that I would do to pretend my visuals are more engaging than they actually are. Really, it's just messy. It didn't need to do that. And if the show was always doing stuff like this, I could say it fits the style, but it's rarely ever this frenetic, so it stands out all the more. All this contributes to a sense that regardless of it's true or not, it feels like the sequence was made. It was mostly good, but the pressure to make it the big opening musical number led to someone to do this in post. Editing this shit to add just a little bit more motion to make it feel just more kinetic, creating a battle between the visuals that are good and this overacted camera that is flying all over the place demanding your attention. And the other thing that sent me, the thing that once I noticed I cried laughing as it truly just, it's what I would do, where rather than just starting at the visual that you want, the episode will start in a corner or zoomed in or whatever, and then just in the first 3 frames will zoom out and snap to the frame that you actually want to see. I do this shit a lot as just to break up the monotony of my cuts. But here, it's distracting, as when it's my B-roll, visuals don't really matter. It's space filler to a certain extent. But here, we really need to know what the fuck is happening. The flow of a song and your ability to read what's going on is huge. So for this to be happening constantly, well, not the worst at first, every time they do it, it takes me half a second to read just and realize what am I actually looking at. And when you multiply that by like 20, constantly jumping between shots, the effect is disorienting rather than adding energy to a scene. But again, out of the first 2 episodes and the first 4 songs, this is the only sequence that I feel like really got fucked by all this. The other 3 are mostly safe, but if you want an example of excessive camera motion just sacrificing clarity, there's a moment where Adam busts out the extermination order. He actually turns it into a global light and crushes it. Something I didn't see him do the first 3 times I watched this. Because the way the shot is following his arm, slapping around, makes me think I should be looking at Charlie. Take all of this and add the fact that Vaggie disappears in a shot that is identical to the one before it. It does leave you a little bit worried that they're putting so much energy into these big moments that the little shit is slipping through the cracks. But again, the songs are fun. The rest of the season doesn't have it nearly this bad. So I am praying that this is a one-off, that there'll be mistakes, every show has them. I just really dislike that I can see the exact tricks being used here, and rather than adding impact, it just takes me out of it. Twitter called this shit. I was too optimistic, and if that's a crime, lock me up, because I'm gonna keep being hopeful. Alright, let's talk about the actual events of the episode and my comments. Firstly, for episode 1, we have the intro story, where we get Whoopi Paradise Lost, and I think that this sequence is a little bit too long. Like, it sets up hell, its relationship with Heaven, Charlie's opinion of her parents, from her dad being a poor victim of Heaven's cruelty who just wanted to have fun and free will, how her mother is in fact the Lilith, Adam's first wife, who wouldn't be submissive, and how she fell in love with Lucifer, and they together did the whole apple trick, with the 2 of them getting punished for it. Now, we've never really gotten like the full backstory for Hell. We didn't know like, okay, how much of what happened is canon? And this here is like, yes, I too read Paradise Lost and thought Lucifer was just a misunderstood bad boy. But the thing that makes me scratch my head about this story is that it's basically begging for something here to turn out to be a lie. Okay, ignore everything that I was about to say. I'm editing this right now, and one line.
An extermination to ensure hell and its sinners could never rise against them.
You want to run that by me again?
It's subtle, but I think that kind of fucks with the entire premise of the show. Yeah, I'm just gonna make this a separate video, but it's crazy. I'll get into it. I'm having a hard time explaining what it is right now, but this is something that I really wish wasn't in there. But we also find out Charlie apparently hasn't seen her mom in 7 years. So something important is going on there, and the fact that she is insisting, oh yeah, my mom's off doing something important, it feels like we're setting up a reveal that will maybe shatter Charlie's view of her parents just a little bit. I love the justification for Lucifer's punishment, that for giving humanity free will, he was forced to only ever see the worst results of that. That is fucked in a biblical kind of way, and I love it. I also love the logic of Lucifer dumping his meeting with the angels onto Charlie because that meeting was with Adam. As yeah, there would be bad blood between them. But onto the scene about Adam and Charlie. This was the worst part of the episode. It's the mock scene thing where the character is being the worst for comedy, but it's not funny, so the character is just being the worst. And we're wasting a lot of time. Like, I get that this guy is meant to be a dick, but you basically get everything you need to know about him the first time he opens his mouth. Adam is a misogynistic dude bro who gets to be just as bad as hell because he happened to play for the other team. But then his scenes just keep going, and it's not fun. And it's especially noticeable when his song starts and he actually fucking rocks. Like, he's still terrible and annoying, but he's actually fun now. So it's crazy to me that we wasted so much time being stuck with him, only for the song to start and get the exact same information, faster, funner, and it just makes everything that came before look worse by comparison. Also, the stinger for this episode is the reveal that the reason that they're moving up the extermination to be bi-yearly is the fact that an angel actually died in the last extermination, which apparently has never happened before. So this time, they're gonna kill everybody. But then this creates this weird dissonance where, like, okay, Adam was being a massive douche here, but he can actually be tactical and refuse to just do this immediately because he doesn't want to tip off the rest of hell. Like, I'm not sure if he's supposed to be such an oblivious, self-obsessed jerk, or someone who is doing that intentionally to distract from his true intentions. As I feel that it takes away from what a basic bitch Adam was portrayed to be, instead makes it feel more sinister in a way that takes away from the fact that heaven is just as bad as hell, but they get a pass for all their actions because heaven. And I don't really love the fact that we've jumped to, okay, they're gonna kill everybody next time, as that really changes the plot of the story from we need to save our people to we need to save the world territory. And I don't like that because we as viewers know that they can't follow through with that, especially when season 2 has already been announced. I'm curious to see how Who Killed the Angel play into the rest of the story, but making the explicit goal of heaven to wipe out most of the sinners, and not just as ominous, oh, we need to keep them in their place, solidifies to me that this premiere, it just has a little bit too much going on. God bless it. Thankfully though, I adore the next one.
It means we're all royally fucked.
Also, one more thing, Brandon Rogers is the new voice of Katie Killjoy, which knowing his filmography is a galaxy brain move. But unless the man is saying just the most outrageous shit imaginable, it's kind of just a fun Easter egg for Hell of a Boss and not just like a super fitting choice. Oh yeah, and the B story for this episode was just the rest of the cast trying to film a commercial. This stuff is serviceable. I'm vibing with Angel Dust and Huss back and forth, but the only other scene that really caught my attention with them was with Alistair and Vaggie and their little standoff. As in an episode that is all set up about introducing characters, this is the only interaction between two characters that didn't involve Charlie that had some nuance and tension to it. Adam's a joke, everyone else is trying to let you know they exist, but Alistair's disgust with TV, Vaggie's willingness to swallow her disgust of him to secure help for the hotel. All this is super interesting, as it feels like two people interacting that have actual wants and needs instead of just shouting what they want at each other. And it really fits for these characters as they are the ones who keep their cards closer to their chest, with Alistair dropping his hatred of TV just long enough to help out the hotel, as Vaggie's right, no customers equals no entertainment for him. Also, the fact that Alistair just refuses to be seen on TV even when he's being spied on is just a great touch. Alistair is old school and knows what he likes, refusing to lower himself by joining this newfangled medium. Alistair has always been like one of the fan favorites, he's always been a character that gripped me as well, and while Alistair isn't doing the insane stuff that I'm kind of waiting for, Alistair continues to be one of the more entertaining parts of the show, which is probably one of the reasons I love the second episode so much. Radio killed the video star. This is where the show gets good, as again, the episode is free from all the setup of the premiere to do what it actually wants, with the story bringing the V's into the equation while also hinting at Angel Dust's trauma. But the V's do steal the show, plain and simple. Yes, seeing Serpentious be a snitch before trying to be a better person, it's cute. Charlie's trying to redeem a sinner via summer camp methods, adorable. Yet it's the V's being awful that is the real magic here. Vox, I did not expect to adore him as much as I do. Like, his image is everywhere where he's on top of the world, but then the second he finds out Alistair is back, he loses his mind. As Vox in so many respects feels like he's trying to ape Alistair's style, from the pinstripe suit to being the mover and shaker of his group of misfits. But while Alistair is the eldritch sociopath who doesn't need a gimmick, Vox, for all his power, is very anxious about being replaced, just like the tech he claims to champion, betraying the fact that he isn't on Alistair's level, that he wanted Alistair to team up with him, but almost lost his life when they fought. What makes Vox great to me is that he so desperately wants to be on top of the world, only to lose his mind and fail to beat his rival, and that just gives big Vegeta energy. Also, for all the shade I threw at Charlie and Vaggie for their vibes in the pilot, Vox is the one who actually has to manage his love interest, as Valentino's ass is being stupid. The man is throwing a tantrum over the fact that Angel Dust has his own place to live. Val could not fathom his employees and victim having any levels of distance without throwing just the biggest fit, and not to mention 100 angry text messages and calls. Like, this dude was really going to shoot up the hotel with Charlie inside to get Angel Dust back. Valentino needs someone to tell him not to be stupid, or his whole empire would crumble as nobody would want to work with him. At least they wouldn't want to before he became rich. And he couldn't get rich if this was how he was always acting. I'm a little trepidatious that Valentino, Angel Dust's abuser, is getting played for comedy this heavily, but better to have him be pathetic than give him the credit of just being super scary at all times. And one thing I'm also not sold on is Valentino's shifting accent. Like, he's going from normal speaking voice Spanish zest to angry British pimp. It's a choice. Don't love it or hate it, but it did take me a second to recognize that they're doing it intentionally, with the voicemails being a great way to convey that. Love Vox, Valentino is, we'll see how that pans out. Velvet is the queen bitch of her department, and also has my favorite line of the series.
Burn it like the witches who wore it.
I like the implication that the other V's are what allow Vox to be a success, though at the moment it does feel like Vox actually has to do the lion's share of the work here. But we'll see how those events play out. Kinda hope Velvet doesn't get lost in the V shuffle, as right now, she doesn't have a rival or foil to really bounce off of like the boys do. But we'll have to wait and see. And while it's not huge or just like the most emotionally wrecking thing ever, I really do like how Charlie gives Serpentius another shot, and how Serpentius trying might motivate Angel Dust to do the same. As if even the joke villain can improve, anyone can. So far, I feel like the show is going to be at its best when it's focusing either the music or about people learning to be better, to overcome their issues and to improve themselves. Serpentius was a loser who was obsessed with killing Alistair to gain the validation of the V's. He risked his life sneaking into the hotel to gain their approval. Strip away the snake thing and the evil gadgets, he's just a kid desperately trying to get other people to like him. It's why he was so quick to jump into Charlie's game. But in being abandoned by everyone and Charlie still giving him the chance, we see that sinners really can change, that they can try, which is something that even the more jaded demons can take a lesson from. It's simple, it's sweet, and it's the baby step everyone needs to start moving forward. And this is the episode where I feel like the series really gains its footing, as there is so much potential here. I really want this series to be great. There's some little things that are worrying, but it's very limited, and I really want to just chalk it up to a rough start. The comedy didn't always land, but then it suddenly was slaying me. While I might not love every choice that they're making, feel like, okay, are they doing something here, or am I just overthinking it? But I really see the potential of Hazbin Hotel, and I am excited to see where the rest of the series will go. I just pray that there are no more drawn out jokes. This has been Sarcastic Chorus. Like, share, and subscribe to be kept up to date to all my has-been nonsense. And let me know what you all thought of the premiere, though I'm sure most of you have already commented. But let me know what other topics I should cover, what other questions you have about Hazbin Hotel that you want my opinion on. But most of all, stay ready and stay tuned, because this is going to be a fun ride.